Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher. Today we're talking about how to make your games feel sandboxy while still giving them a plot. There's a kind of a feel that goes along with a sandboxy game. A game where you know that you're in control of your character's destiny. At least you're in control of attempting to create the destiny you want. You may fail, but you have the freedom to try. Sandboxy games have a very fun feel to them. They have a feel of adventure. They feel like the world is your oyster. It feels like, okay, here's my character. I'm going to go on adventures, and it's a little open-ended, but I'm pretty much in control of what I want to do. It's a very cool feel. It's a super cool feel. And there's also the feel of games that are not sandboxy. And those games, to me, they feel frustrating. They feel a little chaotic. And when I say chaotic, I mean it feels chaotic in the sense that even if you wanted to try to do things that deviated from the normal plotline, it would get weird real quick. And I don't like the feel of those games. And I think that I'm probably speaking for a lot of players who say that they prefer the feel of a sandboxy game. In fact, you might almost say that making a game sandboxy to a point is a basic prerequisite of what would be called a good feeling game of D&D. Now, as a GM, how do you do this? Well, recently, as I was playing my lawful evil Minotaur Bard Grom Izak of the Blackhorns in my friend William's game, Dungeons & 20s shout out, you can find a link to our recent game session in the description of this video. I realized that William does a great job of making his games feel sandboxy. However, I also realized that he does a really good job of also having a plot line, and it's a plot line that I want to follow. With that being said, I am completely convinced that I do not have to follow it. I believe that I could go in whatever direction I want to take my character, but I want to follow the game, and I love the feel of the sandboxiness of the game. And so I've been thinking to myself, how does William do this? How do great GMs make a game feel sandboxy while also putting a plot in there and making it a plot that players want to follow? I feel like I've been pretty successful at this in my games. Even so, I will admit, sometimes I feel that I fall a bit short of the fun sandboxy feel that I love when I'm playing games. And playing in William's game this past Sunday really made me want to renew my efforts to continue to try to make my games feel more sandboxy while also providing plot arcs and opportunities that players will actually want to take part in. So here is what I have come to the conclusion of. I've come up with 3 ingredients that I believe help GMs to make their games feel sandboxy while also giving the players a plot that they'll want to follow. And this is basically what I back engineered from William's game. Sorry, William, if I am exposing your industry secrets, but you know what? Call me a whistleblower. The session was just a lot of fun, and I had to go deeper in my analytical brain to figure out how I can back engineer that for my own game, and I'm going to share it with all of you awesome people. And I don't think William will mind. So here we go. Let's dive in and talk about the 3 ingredients that will help you make your game feel sandboxy while also giving you the ability to put plots in front of the players that they'll want to engage with. Ingredient number 1, you let players lead the way. One thing that I've noticed that William does really well in his games is that he really does take a step back and he takes his time and he lets players lead the way. In fact, I will say, with a maybe somewhat guilty conscience, that I often feel like a spotlight hog in William's games, partly because I do believe that I'm probably the most vocal and the most, I guess I would say, extroverted acting when it comes to role-playing our characters in the game. I have talked to William about my concerns with being a spotlight hog, and he basically told me that he thought that my style of roleplay was helpful to the game, so I haven't dialed it back, and it's so much fun to do it. Not be a spotlight hog, but it's so much fun to care about my character and to roleplay my character. With that being said, I have noticed that a lot of the stuff that goes on is player driven. William stands back and he lets the players make decisions about the game, about the direction they want their characters to take, that the characters want to take, and then lets those things play out. And this has spawned quite a few interesting plot hooks, quite a few interesting sidebar kind of missions, things that the characters really care about, that are allowed to become an integral part of the game based on the player's decisions to make them so. And William does not make any attempt to derail these or railroad them in any way. Yes, there is a central plot line to the game. With that being said, I'm not sure which other plot lines, other plot arcs, stuff that comes up. I don't know if William has planned most of it or if most of it just happened as a result of player choice, but it feels a lot like it's just happening because of player choice, which I think is the signature move of a great player-focused GM. So let the players lead the way is really this ingredient. You can have your plot line and you can have it run, and enticing your players to it is an art form in itself. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, first ingredient, let the players lead the way. Let them explore the destiny of their characters. Let them make choices and honor those choices with good pixels getting filled in around them that honor the direction they want to go in. Doesn't mean it has to be easy to go in that direction. Doesn't mean they're not going to have danger. Doesn't mean there won't be challenges or conflicts. It just means that they feel like they do have the freedom to choose. Now, real quick, before we move on to the next part, I just want to let you know, if you struggle to come up with plot arcs on your own and you're not quite sure like how to come up with those plot arcs, spur of the moment when your players do crazy things, well, I have an ebook to help you with that. I give this ebook away for free. It's called My Ultimate Plot Randomizer, and basically what it is it's an ebook with 4 D100 tables that'll let you random roll plot arcs on the fly. So there's the hook table, there is the complication table, as you can see here. There's the climax table, and then there's also a wild and wacky table to throw in wild and wacky stuff that your players will never see coming in your plot arcs. If you struggle with just coming up with all those plot arcs on the fly when you need to, when your players do unexpected things, that's exactly what I created this ebook to do. I use this all the time. It really helps me not only with session prep, but also on the fly when I'm coming up with plot arcs and I'm not quite sure where things are going. So you can grab this for free. Links in the description. If you join my email list, the first email you get, which will come within seconds, will have this ebook link embedded right in it. You can download it, print it out, keep it with your tools, and if you ever need a random table for plot hooks, boom, you'll have it right there with you. With that being said, let's dive back into this, talk about the next section. Technique number 2, ingredient number 2. Lean into letting the players succeed with the resources they have, but play a scarcity game with future resources, and this includes level ups. Now, I don't know if William does this on purpose, but I've noticed that this is an aspect of his game that I really like, and it creates a lot of fun, looking forward to anticipation for me. Like, I feel like I'm looking forward to a lot of things, and here's what it is. So I think we recently just played our 5th session of the campaign. As of yet, there has been really no loot, so to speak. There has been a little bit of loot, like we've gotten some items, Grom has taken a couple things from slain enemies in the Colosseum. Grom has also grabbed some things from basically the wares we're provided with in the castle where our characters are staying currently. But this isn't really like loot that's been divvied out. This is stuff that Grom just decided to snag that happened to be within reach. He is a little bit, let's say, unafraid to claim things as his own, especially when eyes are not on him. He's not a petty thief. Let's call him a themed opportunist. With that being said, leveling up has been the same way. We haven't leveled up very fast. We just got our first level up at the end of session 4, I believe it was. And so we leveled up from 4 to 5. Now, I was really anticipating this level up for a number of reasons. Partly because it really would increase my bardic inspiration power level with my character, but it would also raise my vicious mockery damage. Anyway, with that being said, I would also gain access to 3rd level spells, which are awesome. But here's the thing. Even though I was looking forward to loot in the future, and there was the knowledge that when we finished our testing in the Colosseum, which was basically a series of 3 battles, we would be given some loot and then begin our journey. But even though we weren't officially distributed loot, it didn't strike me as a bad thing. In fact, it made it there's a fun scarcity element because Grom at this point has literally tied up every single cent of his money. I think that's not true. I think he has 6 silver left. He started with 30 some starting gold. Now he's down to 6 silver because he's a merchant and he's tied his money up in investments. But right now he is so strapped for gold that he he can't even buy something. He could go to the tavern and he was going to have to ration his silver to buy ale. That's how broke he is right now. With that being said, it's a fun kind of scarcity situation in the sense that it's almost like survivalistic. And I think there's a real magic to survival games where you're not given exorbitant amounts of loot or where you have to kind of pinch every penny. I think that there's a fun feel to that kind of game. I think that fits in with sandboxiness, and I think it makes games feel more sandboxy when you really ration loot. And another thing is that when you ration level ups a little bit, I was kind of expecting to level up after session 2, but we went all the way to session 4 after session 4 we leveled up. And so there was a scarcity element to this. It was withheld a little longer, which was fun. It made me need to really kind of strategize about how I was going to use the resources Grom had in dealing with increasingly powerful enemies. And the power level of those enemies was actually really well done too, because they were not overpowered, but in the first battle we fought lower levels, but they got progressively more difficult, and Grom had to figure out how to make it work with what he had. Once he leveled up, he got access to new spells and cool new stuff, so that's awesome. But it made leveling up really fun and really exciting and satisfying, whereas I think sometimes leveling up is maybe taken for granted a little bit. Anyway, case in point, I think that one thing that I'm going to take away from playing in William's sessions is that the fun survival-esque aspect of the scarcity of loot and even the scarcity of level ups can be leveraged as a tool to help drive player enthusiasm and engagement and give them something to look forward to. The promise of loot at the end of a mission or at the end of a plot arc, but then just you're not intentionally giving them a bunch of loot in the meantime, gives them a reason to pursue that plot arc, but it also makes the game feel fun and sandboxy in the day-to-day details of the game, and it makes you need to think a little strategically about how you're going to run your character, which I think makes it more fun. But that's going to lead to point number 3, which is about plot lines. So here is the third note, the third takeaway from Williams games that I have learned that I want to apply to my own games, which is this. You can let players lead the way with their character choices, but you can still entice them toward plot lines, and that gives the game direction. And you don't have to force players if you just use subtle methods to entice them in that direction. So here is what William has done in this game that I think are 2 really great methods that have made me just have no question about following the main plot line. I want to follow it. Even if, tomorrow all the other players were to say, hey, we don't want to follow this plot line, I would think to myself, why? Why wouldn't you? I want to follow the plot line. I don't want to deviate from it. And here's why. Number 1, there's a larger story arc, but we've only heard rumors of it, of this large enemy, and I don't even know what this enemy is there, but there's some kind of entity in one of the main continents, the human and elf continents, that's basically, there's a big war, a big conflict, and word is that they're having trouble defeating this enemy. That's why the orcs and the other races are getting involved, my Minotaur. There's a couple orcs in our group, there's a dragonborn in our group now, and there's what I believe is a drugger. I'm actually not totally sure what Cubs species is right now. I thought he was a dwarf, but then a couple things happened last session that made me think that maybe I was wrong about that. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, the point is that idea, the fact that I've heard those kind of rumors and that there's a big thing going on over in that other continent, and then this continent is basically trying to find champions to send over there, and that's what our group is doing. This makes me excited about that. I think this is a fun thing. Now, my character has this built-in kind of, Grom sees this as a great opportunity to perhaps make a bunch of gold. He wants to find greatness in this journey that will make him rich. And at the end of this conflict, he wants to be basically the most wealthy merchant in the fine wine, meats, and cheeses trade. That's his niche. He wants to be a fine wine buyer, seller, distributor, wholesaler, etc. He wants to be the wine guy. With that being said, I also think that plot sounds fun and adventurous. And of course, I want to go be the champion for the continent, right? For the orcs, for the Union. With that being said, there's another element that makes me want to pursue the plot arc, and this is the promise of loot. Now, toward the beginning of the testing for our characters in their arc of becoming champions for Curadosis, I believe is the continent's name, we were basically said, hey, once you finish the tests, you're going to be given some rewards. You're going to be given stuff for your journey. You're going to be given some magic items to help you on your journey. And so this made me think, ooh, wow, that's super cool. Because we got a couple magic items to start the game, but nothing like incredibly powerful. And so I think to myself, I would love a few more magic items. And with the kind of the scarcity that's built into the game, getting a magic item like that would be huge. It would be huge because Grom isn't just getting a bunch of gold willy-nilly all the time. Grom has 6 silver pieces to his name right now. So the promise of a magic item is very enticing to Grom. And so there's like just literally a treasure element that makes me want to pursue this plot arc. And the fact that since this mission is funded by the orc government, like the kingdom, actually it's also sponsored by the Goblin King as well. There's a lot of resources behind it, which means that if Grom wants to chase opportunity and riches, that's the direction he should go in. And so these are just 2 methods that William has used that I don't know if he was doing it on purpose. He probably was. But these 2 elements have made me basically 100% sold on that main plot arc. So anytime any information or anything is presented that has to do with that main plot arc that's relevant to it, Grom wants to pursue it, and Grom will pursue it because Grom loves where those things are leading. And with that being said, I don't even think that I have to pursue that. I have a feeling that this game is sandboxy enough that if we were to just abandon that plot line, I don't think William would actually care all that much. And therein lies actually the magic of it, is that using these techniques, William has laid it out in such a way that even though we have this freedom, I would never want to use it. I want to pursue that plot arc. So, boom, that's a huge win. A sandboxy game that also has a plot that the players want to follow so that your prep work doesn't get wasted and your story that you've prepared can be honored in a way that the players really want to participate. So boom, there you go. There's one more thing I'd like to discuss, and that is storylines, adventures. I have my own world state, and a lot of adventures have happened in my homebrew world state, but I've published one of them. It's called The Haunting at Ashburrow. This is a 5-session plot arc adventure module designed for any fantasy TTRPG system. This book basically outlines an adventure where a small town is being tormented by a demonic haunting, and the players take the role of guild champions who have been specially selected and hired to go deal with the threat. This is designed to be run on a minimum of 5 sessions, but you could easily stretch it into 10 or more. My Discord group is making this a 5-session arc right now, and it is super fun. We just finished session 3 of that arc. This has 148 pages of content. Let me just show you a few of these pages. It looks beautiful. If you are looking for an adventure, you'd like to run your players through a cool adventure with all the storyline fleshed out for you that could easily spawn into a full-fledged campaign that you can run with, use this as an introductory adventure or whatever, then boom, The Haunting at Ashburrow may be the way to go. I even have my world map there. Now, you don't have to play it in Regenesis. You could play it in your home world, but all of the basic back world, the background world state information for my world is in here, so that's kind of cool. Look, there's a map legends, the village map, and then there's information about each adventure. It's broken up. There are small, manageable goals for each session, helping you to guide in the plot arc without making it railroady. Here's the campaign setup stuff. So just everything you need to run The Haunting at Ashburrow is included in here, and it's system agnostic, so you could run it actually for any fantasy system. I'm running it in D&D, but you can run it with any system because it is system agnostic. And with that being said, links to this are in the description. You can buy this in a very affordable ebook option. There's also the soft cover, glossy, and there is a hardcover. So check out those. Priced very affordably. The ebook's the cheapest, and then the soft cover is the next most cheapest, and then the hardcover is the most expensive option. But I love this. I use my world state information every time I run for my core group from this book because it's published in it. It's awesome. But I also run this, like I said, for my Discord group, and it's super fun. So if you want a packaged, ready to go story that you can use to launch a campaign of your own, well, The Haunting at Ashburrow is my contribution to the D&D world in that sense. So grab that, pick it up, and proceeds all go to support the channel. And as a small creator who loves to contribute to the D&D community, I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. And that, my friends, is going to be a wrap for today. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm here every single day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. So hey, roll some D100s for me at your next session, and I will see you on the next one.